and welcome to this Q&A webinar on January 8th, 2021. And today our guest will be Carlos Colon from Vanguard Vision in Tampa, Florida. And he'll be telling us some things about serialization and aggregation in the pharmaceutical industry. Hope you enjoy it.
Good morning and welcome to the third or fourth bi-weekly webinar for the Automation Academy. There is nobody quite here yet, so I'm going to wait until somebody joins. Today, we're going to be covering some system integration topics and talking to Carlos Colon from Vanguard Vision, and this is just the preliminary part of the webinar, so I'll be waiting for Carlos to show up here. Hello, Brenda, can you hear me? Again, we'll be getting started here within a couple minutes. This is the third or fourth bi-weekly webinar from the Automation Academy, and we'll be talking to Carlos Colon from Vanguard Vision today about some of his projects and things. And so we're just waiting until 10 o'clock. Again, my name's Frank Lamb, and we do this every couple of weeks as part of the Automation Academy presentations. Brenda, can you hear me? I see that you're muted.
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So this is something that I do every couple weeks. The last one I did from down in Miami, I was working on a systems integration job at American Beverage Depot. So that was the first webinar that I had where I actually interviewed somebody. The rest of them have all been on different topics and things, usually related to PLC programming, systems integration, that sort of thing. But during the last webinar, I was actually down there working on one of the many projects that I do in that plant. So I took the opportunity to interview Juan Pablo Garbin, who is the owner of the plant, and he does a lot of ignition, which is a SCADA package work in that plant, and I do all of the other stuff for him. So all the PLC programming and a lot of the system design. They make beverages, so water and juice and that sort of thing. And Carlos actually attended that webinar, and so he provided a lot of information. And a little more about my relationship with Carlos. I've known him on LinkedIn for a couple of years, and we've posted on each other's pages and things and said hi. But then when I went to Miami last time, I left at the beginning of December, and I reached out to Carlos and said, hey, let's meet up. He's in Tampa. And so that was, I live in Nashville. So he was on the way and we met up for lunch. And I have another customer that's on the west coast of Florida, and I was going to go see him, but he got delayed. So I sat with Carlos for probably 4 or 5 hours, and we just sat there and talked about systems integration and what he does and what I do and that sort of thing. Yeah, it looks like we got somebody else here. Let me see. No, I'm not a Zoom professional. So when I look at some of this stuff, I saw something flashing and I was like, okay, does that mean there's somebody here or what? But anyway, so we met up and I learned a little bit about what he does. And after interviewing Juan Pablo, I said, well, I'd like to interview Carlos also and talk to him a little more about his field. There he is. There's Carlos. Okay. So Carlos is stepping in now too. So yeah, we got into conversations about systems integration, and I found out that not only is Carlos doing the serialization and things that he does, but he's also starting to get into other systems integration jobs. So that's where I kind of said, I'd like to know more about your field. And we kind of have talked a little bit behind the scenes, and I said, let's come up with some questions and talk in terms of kind of what you do. And let's see, go to the next page here. So that's where this interview kind of came from. So Carlos is located in Tampa. This is his headquarters, and I got most of this from his webpage. He founded the company in 2017, and this is pretty much a direct takeoff from his webpage. There's lots more there. So if you go to vanguardvision.com, of course, you're going to be able to read all this for yourself. Vision, there's lots of core competencies listed there, and some of the questions that I'll be asking of Carlos, he's explained to me what serialization is and where it came from. I understand that. Aggregation probably means a different thing to me than it means to Carlos. I think of it as collecting objects, and he has a picture of a pallet with a bunch of boxes on it, so I assume it has something to do with that. Authentication, we talked some about that, and he's going to explain more about that too. Track and trace, once again, means a different thing to me than it means to Carlos. I do a lot of part tracking as part of PLC programming, but it probably means something different when you get into pharmaceuticals and medical devices, which is a whole different world. Of course, automation, installation, I'm sure they mean relatively the same things. Integration, I will go on and on about that probably after we're done with Carlos. Validation, which I do deal with somewhat, and of course project management, which everybody deals with, whether they know it or not. Everyone is dealing with project management. These are some of the services that are off of Vanguard's webpage: assessment, installations, integrations, configurations, commissioning, and qualification. I think most of these are somewhat self-explanatory. So, Carlos, are you there? I see that you're there.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just mute to not interrupt you.
Okay, well, I'm ready for you. I've kind of done some introductory stuff. We'll just leave this screen up. I also do have the capability of showing your website. So if there's something you want to point out, you know, there's basically that. And I downloaded your capability statement and I kind of read it. And of course, I would encourage everybody else to do the same if they're more interested in Carlos's areas. But we have a list of questions that I figured I'd start off with those. And the first question that we talked about is, how did you ever get started in this career? You know, where did you go to school? What is your background?
Yes, of course. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carlos Colon from Vanguard Vision. So, yes, how I got started in this career. So the first thing that I studied after was instrumentation engineering, a technical degree. And after my last semester, we typically do like an internship. So this internship was with Siemens Building Technology in Cataño in Puerto Rico Island. And I was working with the building automation division. So when I finished this job, this internship, they just offered me a job. So I started working with them, and then I continue doing services and learning more with Siemens, maybe for 1 year. It was something about 1 year. Then I moved to another company that was doing the same kind of job with a different title, calibration specialist. And this company, the name is a big company right now, is Mentor Technical Group in Caguas in Puerto Rico as well. So after working like 3 years with them, then I received, one day I received just like a call, an unexpected call, this call that changed your life, from a human resource representative from a Wyatt Pharmaceutical. Wyatt Pharmaceutical does not exist anymore, but these days, this company was the big one in penicillin, creating penicillin in Carolina, Puerto Rico. So I started working with them as like let's say a utility operator and mechanics and all the other tasks that were required. And after 1 year working in this position, I was promoted to a different department. And with my studies in instrumentation and being there 1 year, so I was able to switch to a lyophilization instrumentation specialist. For the one that don't know what is deophilization, is freeze dryer systems. Is the one that we use to, let's say, to cook the penicillin and do like sublimation and remove the water of the from the actual medicine and these kind of things.
What was that word again?
Is lyophilization, is freeze dryer systems.
Okay.
Yeah. So after working in the department 1 year, the plan decided to create like a general department for metrology and calibration, and then they collect people from different departments to create this big department. So will be one department managing all the calibration in the plant. So I was selected to be part of this team. And at this point, I started like a metrology and calibration specialist, working all the calibrations in the plant. So after, let's say, maybe 1 year or 1 year and a half, Pfizer acquired Wyatt. So after that, Pfizer check and verify all the plants around the network and decide which plant to continue working and which plant will be our sale, or in the case of Wyatt in Carolina, we was making penicillin, so it was not easy to sell, so they demolished all the plants. So at this point, everyone was fired without job. Some people moved to other plants, some people moved to other countries, and the one that was not taking these opportunities to move forward or far, so was just simply layoff. So at this point, I just start like my contractor journey, contractor professional services job and these kind of things. But yeah, working short terms here, it's a few months here or a few weeks in this project around the island, living in different town every few months because it was like short-term projects, and having this experience start my entrepreneur spirit inside me. So at this point, I start my first company in Puerto Rico. To have this business experience and to know what is. I think if you want to know how is something, you have to jump on it. So this was my first company there, and then after that, it was like having to deal with that at this point you have to take care for yourself. You have to look for your projects. You have to do many things that you don't know sometimes when you jump to the business part. Before I was working with other companies or big companies, or working maybe with other contracting companies. So at this point, you just have the project and you go there and do the job. You don't know all the things that have to be done to this project be there, exist. So that's why I have like a really different mindset and respect to this sales guy and sales people in the company. Now I understand why they are the most important people in the.
That's right. I think you somewhat learn as you go, especially when you start a company. I started out building control panels in my garage, and I did not know how to build control panels. And then I started programming things for people, and I really didn't know how to write programs. But you jumped out and you did what you had to do, right? And you kind of learn on the fly, and hopefully people work with you and are understanding, and you form some relationships. And that's kind of the way that works. So there's some terms here that we use, that you use on your website and everything, like serialization, which you explained what that was to me, aggregation, track and trace, right? Lots of terms here that apply to pharmaceutical products that may not mean the same thing, right? Track and trace to people that are tracking automotive parts. So what is serialization itself?
Yes, the serialization part. Okay. There is many things that I can explain to understand the impact of serialization and why, but let me jump direct to this point. So serialization in short terms, and the description that we have like in the dictionary, is in the pharmaceutical industry specifically, is the assigning a unique serial number to each level of packages. And for level of packages, we can look at that like cartons or borders is, let's say, is an item. Everything is an item, but this is the first item. Packaging level number 1 is cartons or borders. Sometimes you can have bundles, sometimes not. Sometimes you just go direct from cartons to cases, and then cases to pallet. This is like the packaging level. So imagine that with serialization now, you will have a unique serial number for each carton or for each border, also a unique serial number for each bundle, case, and pallet. So now these items are serialized, and serialized means having assigned one unique is the important word here, unique serial number to to each of these different packaging levels, depending which one applied to you.
Okay, so when they make a bottle, so I've worked in this insulin area, for instance, the bottle itself a lot of times doesn't have any kind of a serial number on it, but it has to get into a carton that does have the serial number. Do they ever have to, I know within the machine, for instance, we will track each bottle. If something fails, right, maybe an adhesive, you're putting an adhesive on it, if it fails, we dump it into a reject bin. And we, in the machine, make sure that that part can't get back into the regular manufacturing cycle, but at that point, it's only tracked within the machine, right? It doesn't have a serial number yet. But yet, when you drop it into you said that the bottles are serialized, the carton is serialized, the case is serialized, the pallet is serialized. So at what point does the product start to get a unique number assigned to it, and upon death, you can't lose that number, right?
Yes. Yeah, this part is very important, and this is the challenge here. You just nailed it, like you just went direct to the point where the challenge is. Because as you explained, when you don't have, before serialization, you don't have serial numbers. You just, in medicine, specifically in pharma, you just have, let's say, lot number or batch number, you have expiration day, and you have manufacturing day, maybe, or quantity. Though this kind of value that are the same in all the items. So if I take two items and just move it like that, you don't know which one is which, because it's the same information. So in there you don't have problem. But when in serialization, when you add a serial number, now these two packages are separate entities. So now you can identify each other. So the big challenge between automation process and serialization, that this is what I call like the operation technology. The operational part is the real part, that is the product itself. And this product with serialization, a digital twin is created, and this digital twin is at the level of IT. Now, the IT is information technology, so we refer for that for data. Now you have a product with a serial number that is running physically in the machine. But in the serialization world, you have the same product, the same data virtually created. It's the same number, and imagine that this is flowing together. So one of the biggest problem there is the serialization system don't know where the product is. It is the PLC and the machine know where the product is. So we rely on the signal from the PLC to know in which stage this machine is. So if you physically remove a product for, let's say, for a jam or something, and you don't give to the serialized product this information, we don't know, and we will have what we call out of sync problem. So because now the serial number has to be in a specific sequence. If you remove one physical item in the line and you not clear this data in the serialization world, now you will have your physical product one number behind in the next one, and this will continue until you remove all the product in the machine and like start over from the infeed side of the machine after resetting everything.
Right.
So the bigger challenge in here, this is the difference, like what you mentioned and the complexity that serialization add to this point.
Yeah, because if I remember, being able to walk up, open a door, and step inside and pick, if I wanted to, right, I could reach out and I could just pull a product out of the line, and there would be a gap in that line, but no one would know, for instance, if I took a different product out of the reject bin and stuck it right back in that hole. And the PLC certainly doesn't know, right? All it knows is I opened a door and then I close the door, right? You're not detecting every single position in the line, right? So I did work for
Exactly.
Eli Lilly and things like that. And there was really no, at the point at which the bottles would come through, there was really no way to physically track the bottle. There's not an RFID tag, there's not a barcode, there was nothing printed on the bottle. So how do you handle that part, or is that entirely virtual at that point? Do you mark individual bottles as they're filled?
Well, right, at this point, you have the serial number. So with the serial number, so now you know each, so now you have unique identification for all these items. So if you have like a serial number that was rejected, when a product is rejected, there is two terms that we use: commission item or decommission items. Depend of the software and solution that you use. Sometimes this word can be changed or use a different word, but refer to the same thing, good or bad. Commission mean for good, decommission mean like bad. Every time that you have, let's say that you fail an inspection with the camera, you fail an inspection, this product is rejected. But at the same time, this vision system is sending to the serialization system the information that this is wrong, this number is commission. So this change the status in the database. And now, if this product is sent again in the machine, you take it from the reject station and you send it again. When the vision system inspects this carton, the first thing that the system do is check in the database if this product is, the serial number exists already in the database. If exists, we reject and will not allow it to pass. If it's a new product that is not in the database and have the correct state and status, the product will continue because it's a number that is not in the database. So also, if there is like a jam or depend the condition that you program in the system, opening a door or having like a motion sensor, let's say in the palletization process, can decommission the number as well. Let's say that you have a pallet label and someone go to in the pallet side and open the door, and the aggregation part of this pallet is not completed yet. So you have to start over, because if this label was painted with the information that is virtually aggregated, it's not aggregated to a number yet, but have like a virtual number assigned. So this void the process. So this label and this virtual information will be decommissioned. So
okay, yeah, understood. So you're tracking everything really after it's been packaged in most cases then?
Oh yeah, it's the same process. it's the same process, just repeated like 3 times. So you have like commissioned cartons or borders. If you have bundles, then you have commissioned bundles, commissioned cases, and then you have commissioned pallets. So it's the same step and the same thing together. So when you talk about the aggregation part that you was mentioning before in the list, it's the next level of this process. Serialization is having one unique serial number for each packaging level. But after you're having like a number, a carton inside the case, you don't know. So you don't know the status of the package inside because it's inside the case and the case is closed. So you aggregation. So there is no relationship between products. So aggregation is the next level. So in aggregation, you're having like a child relationship that now let's say that your carton is your children and your bundle or your case, depend which one you have, is your father, and maybe the pallet with your grandfather. So this relationship now allow to create relationships. So the benefit of aggregation is that, let's say, if you scan a pallet label, you will know this pallet label contains all these cases. So you will have all the serial number of all these cases. Typically in an XML notification, you can have a report, you have information, but typically what you send between systems is an XML file. So with the relationship, you will have this palette contain all these cases, and inside these cases, each cases, you have these cartons. So you will have all the full hierarchy of all this product just scanning one item. So you don't have to open the product to look for a specific number and a specific level. So if you scan a carton and the process is completed, when you scan a carton, you will know this carton is aggregated to this case and this case is aggregated to this pallet. So this benefit also help when you have like a recall of medicine of these kind of things. If there is a problem with one of these items, typically the people will think that the problem can be with the full lot. So now you're scanning one item with problem, you will know and you will have all the information of the associated product that were manufactured in the same day with the same lot at the same time and are part of the same group. So it will be easier for the regulatory agencies to do the recall and avoid having like person.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, and that explains what the aggregation part of this, and of course all this has to be validated. I've done this before in my control systems. The pharmaceutical and medical device industry is full of validation. You can't just change things on the fly. One of the questions I had here was how do you interface with existing control systems and machinery? So if you go into a plant and they're already manufacturing something, they already have a system, how do you come in and apply serialization and work your magic with these control systems that are kind of already there?
Okay, let's say, okay, if it's a new system, this is the easy way. If it's a new system, when you will work with integration, there is like two different words. Let's say you have the companies that manufacture the machine, and they also have the serialization solution and software. So they can sell the package already integrated, and the machine is ready to go, and they manage everything. But there are other companies that just give you the serialization system and cameras and components, computer, lighting, and all this stuff. And you can integrate the system to a machine to any machine that does not have like serialization solutions. So In this part, that is the challenge when you have to integrate the system to the machine. So we typically go to the OEM, and then the serialization system is shipped to there. So we have to go there, install the components, do the wiring, Ethernet wires and everything, configuration, I/O checking, verify that all the tags are correct, verify that the communication between the PLC program of the machine and sensor and all these things are working and communicating correctly. So after that, we had to do testing of the machine. We call like pre-FAT or pre-SAT. This means like a pre-FIT or pre-SIT. This is factory acceptance testing. If you are in a OEM, and typically you do the same test in the plant. That is called the site acceptance testing. So you have to be sure that the machine have this test done, the pre-test version of this, before the client arrive, because the client will go to the OEM to test that everything work together and work fine. So we have few weeks working with the OEM to have the machine ready before the customer go there to do the testing. So this is the two ways how this works.
Okay, so I have a list of your services offered here, and I see that assessment, installations, integrations, configurations, troubleshooting, factory acceptance tests, site acceptance tests, and of course, project management. As I mentioned in the beginning of this, whether people know they do it or not, they do it. And of course, there's certifications you can get for project management. Some of the other things we talked about, what are your current plans and networking in your area? What other kinds of things are you getting into? I understand you're working on some things right now and doing a little integrations and networking with local people there in Florida and maybe worldwide. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So we love the collaboration and the cooperation work. That this is the term most used in Europe. Cooperation in USA is more like collaboration. So we love this word because it is we believe that this is the way that we can grow. So the companies can grow, and more now with the COVID situation. This is the way that some companies are surviving. Let's say that are surviving. So big companies having issues, big company merging, being acquired, and this kind of things. So it's for that. So right now we are like networking with people that are interested in have this kind of cooperation where we can bring value to them. There is few big companies, service companies that they does not have like the capabilities to do serialization, and they are reaching to us to help us with this part. So they are big companies, so they receive really good projects, but they don't have the capability to do it. So having us managing like their serialization part of the business is one of the opportunities that we are having with 2-3 companies right now. So this is one of the part. Also, this is increasing our capabilities because all the things that they do that we cannot do if we have a project that require these requirements and capability that we don't have. So we have this team of people with these capabilities. So we can bring value to them as well. So they bring value to us when they use our team and capability for serialization, and we do the same when we have big projects. Instead say no, that most of the people that not cooperate and not have the capability, you don't have other choice to just say no. So there is not a no for our customers. So it's like let's find how we can make it happen, and this is the way that we are doing in this part. Also, I'm trying to give give back to our society and to our country, because I believe, I know that in my entire life, many people take the chance with me. So I want to take the chance with others as well, to give them the same opportunity. And we are like working with a robotic educational station company in Florida that we believe in the mission that they are doing. And we want to help them to bring more value to the students. At this point, what they are doing is like they have this robotic station with robots that are used and components that are used in the industry, and they are just giving training to the students. So they have training for let's say high school, intermediate school can be as well, but high school, technical colleges, universities, and also can be deployed in manufacturing plants. That sometimes we think that one person in the manufacturing plant does not need training, but not all the people there know the technology, because they just receive a task to do, and this is what they do for 30 years. So then when they go out, the technology is different, and then they try to apply for a job and they don't have the minimum requirement. And this is something that is killing US right now. This is what they call the manufacturing skill gap. So we are trying to be part of this solution, bringing this technology that we currently use in the industry to the colleges, to have these people trained with the same equipment and the technology that they will use when they go out the school to work. So this is one of the most rewarding part that in feelings that I'm doing. And this happened after have the opportunity to speak with some of these class 30 students, 25 students, and you see this face that they want to learn more when you start explaining what you do and what they have to do to be there. So, and this is something that I never feel this before. I just feel this in this moment with these people, and it's a really nice feeling. So when you see people that want to do more, and so we are involved in this with bringing to them all this knowledge. Also, it can sound weird, but I talking about serialization, computer vision systems, thing that maybe for many professionals it's like, oh, this is very complicated, and it is. But these kids, they just come to this world with an iPhone and technology better than us, so they get things quicker. So we are in this mission to try to help the.
Yeah, there's a lot of push now, of course, for people using the Arduino and Raspberry Pi and some fairly low cost things for kids to get into. And I've noticed some of the schools, we have the Tennessee Application Technology Group, and they'll spend all kinds of money in the colleges on equipment, right? They'll buy robots, they'll buy these big Amatrol systems, but a lot of times, they don't have the instructors for them. The instructors are sometimes some retired maintenance guys or whatever, and they cycle through them, and they don't even have the, I guess, the instructional material to cover it in a lot of cases. The content is not necessarily there. So having professionals like yourself involved in these classrooms and presenting what you do, even to this webinar, right? That's an important part of what we do. And of course, the Automation Academy, this is my method of doing it virtually, since, with COVID, a lot of this stuff shut down and we can't have so many of the in-person classes in the colleges and things. So any way we can present the material, it's all good, I guess. So we also talked, for instance, about, I had a customer down not very far from you, and we talked about, you knew some people that build control panels, and this customer in particular, they needed a method of building control panels in fairly larger quantities, right? They had their own panel building people, but when it got to building repetitive stuff, they wanted somebody to kind of take over and maybe do some project management, figure out a way to build kits of, right, which would involve specifying the parts and buying the parts and then providing it as a fabricated kit. And of course, up here in Tennessee, we have people that do that. But one of my thoughts was, well, they're in Florida and Carlos is in Florida and he's just an hour's drive up the road from them. Can Carlos possibly help? And you did, I think at the time, talk to some local panel builders and try to put, some local resources together for this guy. I don't know if you ever contacted him or not, but those kinds of things is what I guess we were talking about with collaboration also. So I would encourage anybody, right, to reach out, and I'm going to put your graphic back up here with your contact information on it, to reach out to Carlos, right, if you have any kind of projects and you want to collaborate with somebody. Vanguard Vision is right there in Tampa. And of course, these local companies, he's networking and talking to lots of different people, and would definitely encourage people to reach out and talk about collaboration, even if it's not in the medical device and pharmaceutical area. This particular customer that I've had, of course, I'm up here 1,000 miles away, so it's hard for me to get down there, but they build stone saws, right? Which doesn't have anything to do with what Carlos does, and it doesn't have a lot to do with what I do either. So that's a collaboration outside of your field of interest, other than the fact that they're still control systems, right? So, well, thanks for meeting with me today, Carlos, and telling me about what you do. Anything else in particular you want to point out here?
Yes, of course. I just feel very happy that you did this, and I want to thank you for this. I think it's a very important part of learning. Out there is a lot of information and training, and during this COVID, there is a lot of information. These days, you can learn whatever you want. So with the Automation Academy, you're bringing this opportunity to the people as well to have things done. And right now, these days, you can learn whatever you want. You don't have to wait for a employer to give you a job. You don't have to wait for having a project to learn something that you want. You just make it happen. So right now, for example, I want to develop, to learn more about ignition and different modules. This is a SCADA application. So, and I figured out that they have like a version of ignition for makers that the license is free if you use it for non-commercial use. So what I'm doing right now, one of my side and personal project, I'm building my home automation system at home. So it's like let's put this industrial grade and technology that we know to use it here at home. And I don't have to wait for a project to use this kind of system to learn the system. Create your own project and you just jump in and develop these things. So it's like I just want to encourage the people that to move forward and to do 100% for them. 10% of the success in the world is qualification. The other 90% is taking action. So, and this is what I want the people to do. So take action, come to the Automation Academy, look for training, look for new technology, look for Industry 4.0, digital transformation, industrial Internet of Things, all this technology that are already there and will be the future, and you will have a competitive advantage.
That's right. Things are changing very, very fast, right? So we talked a little bit about Industry 4.0, and I'm going to show a new course that I've linked to a company in Dallas on the Automation Academy site. But since you mentioned inductive automation, and of course we mentioned this last week, this is Ignition, right? Yeah, they have this maker's version, but their Inductive University also is free. People don't realize that, but you can open up their full-blown SCADA system and it'll run for 2 hours. And the Inductive University class is a very rigorous class. It's very detailed, and it goes into all kinds of things about SCADA systems and the things you can do. As a matter of fact, we talked to Juan Pablo last week, and even with all the work he's done now probably 4 or 5 years of inductive automation work, he's still not finished their class with all that work that he's done. And he says, you know, when I have something that I need to do, I'll log in and I'll take that particular portion, that module of the course, and I'll learn something every time, and I'll take their test. But he wants to get through, for instance, if you finish all those, you'll become a authorized integrator, right, for an ignition, and you'll be able to resell their product. That's a great thing to do. Yeah.
This is something great that they are doing. So some people just okay, sell my product, sell my product, but you don't know about the product. Let's say they are giving to the people, you want to have this opportunity, you have to complete this certification, and then you will qualify for the gold certification. That is the one that the first one that they have. This is just for qualification, and as you say, it's very rigorous. And it's like, this is qualification only.
That's right. That's right. So does anybody else, I kind of unmuted everybody. Does anybody else have any questions for Carlos before I move on here?
I'm good.
Okay. Yep, that was Brenda. I see Dachana Murthy, Victor. If anybody has any questions, you know, I'm gonna move on here, Carlos.
Yes.
I do have all this contact information. Of course, as I mentioned, I also have your website up. I would encourage everybody to go to Vanguard Vision's website and take a look at what they have. And of course, they have some downloadable things, capability statements, etc. There is the contact information. It's www.vanguard-vision.com. So thank you very much, Carlos.
Thank you. I have a really big summary of information that compresses all these things that we talked today in a deeper way. If someone is interested to receive that, just send me an email and I will be happy to share with you. So no problem with that. We have to check.
So yeah, either an email or of course, Carlos and I met, as I explained in the beginning of this, on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great networking platform, and it's a way for people to get together and form collaborations like this. And we talked, I think, on LinkedIn for 2 or 3 years before I ever got to meet Carlos in person. We went down and had a probably 4 or 5 hour lunch, you know, a month ago. It was nice because it was an opportunity for me to learn a lot too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so we have about maybe 15 minutes left here, and I did want to talk about some of the other things that I'm doing here at the Automation Academy. I mentioned that I had linked to a new course here. Of course, I do lots of PLC training and that sort of thing. I've got, wow, network error, that's a new one. Let me take a look in the education section. And here, this is the Industry 4.0 mini course, and this is not on the Automation Academy. So this is a link to Intellic Automation. And I'm trying to remember the guy's name even here. It starts with a D. Does anybody remember that? Let me just go.
Well, this is my friend. I say my
Walker
friend.
Reynolds, that's it.
Walker Reynolds, yeah.
Yeah. So,
very knowledgeable guy. Very knowledgeable guy. So yeah.
Yep. So here I'm advertising his stuff. I'd love to talk to him at some point too. But he talks about industrial Internet of Things, which we throw a buzzword around IoT, right? But then we talk about the difference between regular IoT, where people are messing around with the Arduinos and the Raspberry Pis and playing with things, and then the industrial, right, Internet of Things, which is a little more rugged. You have to use a little more, solid devices and make sure that things work all the time. You don't care so much if you're in the grocery store and your refrigerator won't tell you what's in it, but you do care when your assembly line goes down and it stops working because of some IIoT device, right? So I would encourage anybody to take this course, and you don't have to be a member of the Automation Academy to take this course. As a matter of fact, when I say begin course here, I link directly to Walker Reynolds' website. And he has some great presentations there, and he works with another guy, again, that we met on LinkedIn named Zach Scriven. And Zach is another mover and shaker and always getting people involved in projects and collaborations. And so I would encourage anybody, if they want to learn more about the industrial Internet of Things or Industry 4.0 and digital transformation, and something that he's coined as part of his project called the Unified Namespace. So the Unified Namespace means that when you do these ignition projects and things like that, you're going to pay integrators a lot of money to come in and do all these tiny little parts of a large project, right? This can get really expensive, and every time you want to make a change, you're bringing in a different integrator, and he's putting in his own, SQL database and his own stuff. And what Walker Reynolds is proposing is that if you have one central place where if you change one tag name, it changes all of the tag names, right? So it's a central place that that makes it easier to change things. So that's a lot of what this course is about. And so the link that I have here, and I'll go ahead and bring one of them up. Let's see, begin course. It is going to link directly to Intellic Online's website. So if you click on this, you're going to get the free course. And of course, they're going to ask you for your Ethernet or your email address, right? And so you're going to have to do that. But it's very much well worth it. Walker himself is a great presenter of material, and you can get at it from in here at the Automation Academy or link to it outside at Intellic Automation. Other courses that I've been adding. I have a new member that really wanted to get more into TI Portal. So I have added 4 courses in the Odyssey series. For those who don't know what the Odyssey series are, you see the Step 7 Odyssey and the TI Portal Odyssey, rather than standard classes. So of course I have RS Logix classes and things like that, Control Logix classes. I've created the Odyssey series as a sort of an advanced class. For those who don't know much of my background, I've written a couple books, but the last book I wrote was called Advanced PLC Hardware and Programming. And what I concentrate on there is the structure of programs. So not just learning the instruction set, right? People learn how a timer works, and they learn how counters are and how digital, I/O works and things like that, but they don't really learn how to structure a program. My book certainly had that in it. It has all the stuff about auto sequences and how to organize your program, how to write input routines and output routines. What is debouncing? What is backchecking of sensors? So all these things are important when you're writing your own programs. Not so important for troubleshooting programs, which is what most people take PLC classes for. They just want to troubleshoot, right? You want to find out what's wrong with your machine. So this RS Logix class, which was the first one I put out on Udemy long before the Automation Academy started, it covers that. It does all the instruction set and things like that. But these Odyssey courses, what I do is I start projects the same way in all of these courses with organization of the project. How do you do auto and manual mode? How do you get into auto cycle, right? Auto cycle start, it has to do with safety. It has to do, a lot of times you'll push a button and it'll go, beep, 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 and the machine starts up. Well, how do you program that, right? How do you organize that program? How do you build what's called a system routine? This is not my invention. This is how we do things in industry, right? So it's important to learn how are programs written in industry? How are things structured? And this TI Portal is the first one that I've done in process control. So rather than doing machine startup, I'm about four modules in on it, and I think in the fourth module, I'm talking about filling tanks and doing things very much like what I talked to Juan Pablo about last week at ABD. We fill a tank full of stuff, we mix things. I kind of made up a project there, but what I do in all of these Odyssey courses is I simulate the program, and I teach you how to simulate the program. So you don't have real machines to work with in a lot of cases, especially when you're learning. So how do you simulate tanks, right? Tanks full of fluid. Well, we fill the tank up and it gets to a certain level and the sensor gets made and it says it's full and it tells you how much fluid it has in the tank. Well, you have to write all that feedback, right? You have to write the code that says this tank is full. And it's simple. It's not particularly difficult. It's timers, right? The tank takes a certain amount of time to get full, and then you look at the tank and it fills. That's what you want to see. So how do you simulate that on a touch screen? How do you build a touch screen with a picture of a tank and make it look like the tank's filling up? How do you write that code? And that's much of what's in these Odyssey projects. They're all kind of different lengths. Of course, the Automation Academy is under constant construction. And I think that the Siemens Step 7, for instance, course is 12 modules long. The TIA portal is only 4 modules long so far. But I add to these every day. Literally, I add to as many courses as I can constantly. We got a little bit of Omron in there. I haven't done much on that. I taught an Omron class back, I think it was in September. And so I started. The nice thing about this course is the software is free. So you can, right here at the Automation Academy, you can download the Omron software and you can program yourself. Right now, you don't have a real PLC, you got to run a simulator. But fortunately, Omron's software has the simulator built in, which is really nice. Other than that, other things that are going on here, I kind of wanted to just cover all the new stuff. Of course, we do these webinars every 2 weeks. I did one January 8th, and the intent was to always make it internal to the Automation Academy, and eventually it may turn into that. But until then, right, I open it to everybody, and I've been inviting people on LinkedIn, and I have a Facebook group called the Automation Academy. If anybody's interested, it's all free, and people I don't think anybody's actually joined the formal Automation Academy from the Facebook group. And I have over 3,000 members, and I don't think all the things that I put there, I think most people are looking for free YouTube videos and that sort of thing, right? So that's part of the game here. Of course, I have to advertise my own stuff, but anyway, that's what the Automation Academy itself is all about. That's what Carlos's material is all about, and Vanguard Vision. Again, any questions, comments from anybody else? Questions about systems integration or the Academy or anything? Okay. Well, other than that, I'm going to show you a little more of what's here. Lots of downloads, right? So I mentioned that there's some downloads here. If you go into this Omron, you can download the install for, right, Omron CX1 platform, Allen Bradley. There are a bunch of downloads of PDFs. There are some software, right, free software downloads. Now, these software downloads, of course, they're free, so I get them for free from somewhere else. This Micrologix 500 Lite software, one of the reasons I put it here instead of trying to direct people to the Allen Bradley website is it's almost impossible to find on the Allen Bradley website. And my friend Sean Tierney, who is at the Automation blog, the Automation School, he's another guy I've met up with, would love to interview sometime. He actually had this link, and I tried to use his link, still couldn't find it, and eventually drilled down to a place where I found it, and that's why I put it on this site. And you have to have that, you have to have this install, and I believe this has a simulator in it. I am not sure. One of the problems with this is if you already own RS Logix 500, this software cannot be installed on your computer if you have a license. It's going to tell you uninstall your Allen Bradley license, which I will never do, right? Because it takes, for those who don't know it, it takes probably 45 minutes to do an Allen Bradley install. So I don't have a way to test this software. If anybody else has downloaded this and has been able to test it, I would love to know, for instance, does it have a simulator in it? How does the simulator work? You know, a few things I know about this software. It's not by any means full Allen Bradley 500 software. It does not allow you to online edit. So all the classes I do, I usually online edit, because if I'm in a plant, that's what I have to do, right? I have to connect up to the machine, and sometimes I have to work while the machine's running. Now, Carlos is probably thinking, that's sacrilege. I can't do that. This is the pharmaceutical industry. You're not allowed to do that. You know, well, in automotive or in other manufacturing, the main priority is, you know, we joked the other day, Carlos said, you know, if you screw things up in the program, you'll get fired. If I move things inside the machine, I'll get fired. And I said, well, in the automotive world or manufacturing, if you don't get that machine up and running in 5 minutes, you're fired. And that means while the machine's running, right? It's running production. So that's kind of a joke that we had. But that's true, right? Every industry is different. Every platform is different. So I'd love to know if anybody does download this. I see there's still, I guess, 5 people present on the webinar here. If you do download this and you install it, I would really love to know, how does the simulator work, right? Does it allow you to write some simple code and run it? But the only way you're going to find out, you're going to have to install it on your computer. And if you already have the Allen Bradley software, you're not going to be able to install it. So that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. Oh, there's the emulator. So, right, so the RS Logix 500 emulator version 6.0. So you would have to install all of these. For those who don't know, RS Links Lite is required, right? So this is one of the differences between Allen Bradley and Siemens, for instance. Allen Bradley has a separate communications program, and you can't download without bringing this up and configuring it. And of course, that's in the courses here, learning how to do that kind of stuff too. This one's another free one. Control Components Workbench is the software that runs the MicroLogix 800. And once again, free software, very inexpensive controller. So if you wanted to buy an Allen Bradley 800, you can get them. They used to be under $100. That's pretty cheap. I don't have any of the free Siemens software, but there are some. Here's a statement list helper, right, with all the stuff listed out alphabetically. If you bring these up, what you get is you get a PDF, right? And then you can keep the PDF, you can download it and use it if you wish. Unfortunately, all of these need to be opened from my site. So if you open them, you need to hit the back arrow, right? That's how you get back into the site. I don't have a way to open it as a separate tab without opening that directory of all kinds of files up to everybody in the world. So I don't just stick it on the internet. Lots of other stuff here, some stuff on project notebooks, some stuff on wiring, circuits references, PLC simulation trainer. I'm not even sure. You'll have to explore some of this and find out for yourself what's all on here. But there's lots and lots of files, lots and lots of courses, and of course, some career help. I think that's pretty much the end of our hour for this week. Again, any questions, comments? How's your day going?
Yes, I have few. I have few. So let's say, so when I do what I do when I have this kind of problem with software and licensing, and I want to test software, I use a virtual machine. You can create with VMware or with VirtualBox. We install Windows 10 for testing, and then you can install the software there, and you should not have problem with licensing, and Because
So I
it's
do
a-
that, but I purposely keep VMware off of this particular machine. And the reason
Okay,
is,
okay.
yeah, everything I have on this particular machine is Windows 10. It's Windows 10 compliant and it all works and it keeps it pretty lean. I've uninstalled a lot of things on here. This is my road machine. Now, I work extensively in virtual machines down at ABD. So the guy I talked to last week, I can log into his server and he runs all virtual machines, right? So he's got, I think, maybe back to XP even virtual machines, right? So we're running, and I actually drive his software there. And that's exactly what he does. He installs different software packages on different things. But what I've found is it's gonna fill your hard drive up for one thing, right? VMware, you have a whole separate operating system running on your computer, and it does slow things down. You know, it takes up a lot of RAM and things like that. So I purposely myself keep virtual machines off this particular machine. The other thing that I have to use this machine for is producing these videos, right? So I'm doing all these, and Camtasia is another memory hog. So, you know, I'm running all the Siemens software and the AutoCAD. I've got AutoCAD running on here. I've got Camtasia running on here. And I would tell you, if I tried to open a virtual machine on top of running Camtasia and Allen Bradley and Siemens, and I don't even remember what else. I got all kinds of things on here, but I may have, well, let's look at my taskbar. I have a few things open here. I don't have a lot of things, but, you know, I've got Zoom open and Chrome and PowerPoint. Nothing much today, but usually I'm running Camtasia on here, and that's another super memory hog. But you're right, VM's great way to go.
It's for testing, for testing.
Yeah.
To avoid the issue with licensing, because I think the same happened to me.
Yeah, they're picky about copying the licenses still. There's some workarounds, and we probably should.
Well, you're moving.
Yeah. So there's some secret stuff there, and we won't get into too much detail about how to duplicate licenses and things. But of course, they go out of their way to figure out a way to not let you do that. You know?
Yeah, but RS Logic 500, for example, is free. They have a free license, so it's no.
Yeah. Well, but it's, you know, it doesn't allow you to, like I said, you can't online edit. And on most of my classes, I'm doing online editing because I'm making a quick change. And I'm saying, hey, you know, I want to toggle this bit, and I'm going to, hey, let's turn this into a normally closed and see what happens with it, right? So, you know, even though the Automation Academy is intended to be more of a systems integrator approach, there are still a lot of PLC things here. So that tends to be PLC and HMI, you know, programming is still most of what's on here. I'm creating a lot of new things on sensors and, you know, projects and how to do things. As a matter of fact, we have a guy in the room with me. I don't know if you can see this. This is Lucas. Hello. I don't know if you can see this. You see through my little calendar or camera? No. Anyway, Lucas is here also. I don't know if my camera is even working since I can't see it myself. But Lucas is here, and we're doing basically a systems integration class. He's designing a system, and there's a lot that goes into it. There's CAD, there's PLC programming, and originally I think he just wanted to learn the PLC part, but and he already knows his type of systems. He does, I guess it's dust collection systems and that kind of thing. Big company that does that, and so he knows about all that hardware part, but all the other things that go into it, all the, you know, how are we going to manage the project? How are we going to draw the systems, the schematics? How are we going to specify the components? He's even going to build his own panel. He's got a 100 horsepower drive in there, and he's building his own control panel, and I think the whole thing's due in 12 weeks. So got to program it, build the panel, buy all the parts, design everything, draw all the schematics, and that's so I'm creating a lot of that material, right? The systems integration material as we go. That's part of what we do here at the Academy also, and of course Lucas is a member of the Academy. But that's mostly it. Carlos, it's been great seeing you here today and talking to you and learning more about serialization and Vanguard Vision. Other than that, any last minute comments? Still got Brenda?
Yes. For me, again, it's like if you want to do like an introductory course for serialization, we can work with that if you want. So because I see that I saw around the world, it's not just in US, around the world, validation people and automation people that if they don't understand serialization, it's very hard and complex for them to do their stuff in a serialized line. This is what I saw because it's a little bit different. You have more things there. So maybe we can do, if you want, we can figure out, create an introductory course for serialization, high level, not specifically with any brand. The logic behind serialization that is a standard is the same for every single manufacturer because it's the logic behind that. It's not specific for device. So the logic, what is the logic behind that? The standard, how the serialization works, the identifiers, the packaging labels, all this wording and structure. This is something that sometimes I have to teach to the people when I go to plant, to the manufacturer, to the automation and to the validation team because they just don't know. And sometimes they cannot execute validation or having difficulties with programming because they don't understand. And this create conflicts.
Right,
so this is something with value for me. So
well, the one thing I've learned though, I've been creating these courses for a little over maybe close to 2 years now. It takes a long time to create a good course. The video work, the write-up, the structuring of it. So I think you should do it. Absolutely, create a serialization course. I'd be happy to host things like that here, or even link to it, like I did on Walker Reynolds' class.
okay.
But the time, I will tell you, for those of you thinking of creating your own courses, there was a time when I first started this first course where I calculated it was 1 minute. 1 minute of finished video took an hour. Yeah, that's how long it takes. There's all kinds of things. You have to compile everything. You have to plan, and to build like a lesson plan and figure out if it's going to work. And then there's iterations of all that. So all the stuff that I've been creating, this has been the work of much of the last year. And it's just a tremendous amount of work. So we did have somebody else join here, Theo, at the last minute, but Theo, you've come in right at the end of the of our webinar, and people do this, but this will be recorded, and I do some massaging of it. I put it in a nice form, and I do post it on YouTube. So I'll post a link. Some of these people, Brenda, Dachinamurthy, I recognize your name from somewhere, but I don't know how we're all connected, right? So I'm Frank Lamb. This is Carlos Colon on LinkedIn. That's an easy way to get in touch with us. I have put Carlos' website up there, and my website is automationllc.com. You can find me there. You can find me online. You can find me on LinkedIn, etc. But that's it. Theo, if you want to see this webinar, I'll make sure that that this gets posted on LinkedIn. It'll probably be tomorrow by the time I'm done with it, because as I mentioned, Lucas and I are working heavily today on some fun systems integration project. But that's really it for me, and we'll go ahead and there we go. Now I can see myself. I couldn't see the camera before. There's Carlos, there's me, Theo, Brenda, everybody. Thank you for attending. Any last second comments before I shut it down?
Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Carlos.
Of course.
All right, and we'll see everybody later. Bye-bye.